is where the drama starts. Lap 30, 8 laps to go. Sandopi hoping to take advantage of these lapped cars. Pileski goes, dives onto the right side. Very aggressive here. This is lap 4. The two Viceroys. Bill Frazier ahead of Matt Pileski. Frazier's off. Frazier hit the grass. You hit that tire wall, your day is done. Well, now it's lap 20. The Williams still trying to get around the Terrell team as he'll go around the left car and around those at the same time. At the same time, he's got the inside corner. Will he ride the curb? Yes, he will. He will get him on the inside. Dino Maria leading us all into Moss's corner. The beauty as his right side will cook the grass a little. A 360. Oh. Who will yield going into this corner? It's really not meant for too wide as it will be Gernald. Gernald will yield. Lots of smoke picking up from that Williams car. He is pushing it to the absolute limit. 26 of 30 now. Only 4 laps to go. He's going to get the run coming out the final corner. He's going to pull up side by side with the leader. It's going to be a drag race to the finish. Who is going to get there first? It's going to be...
Last week showed the incredible speed Frisch is capable of when an opening lap melee doesn't hinder him. Bergerno still has work to do this season to keep himself at the top. Norlampi and Wood are proving to become ever more challenging foes for the multi-time champion, but most of the drivers are not looking at their competitors this week. Their eyes are fixed firmly on the track in front of them. Imola's strenuous demands are wearing out even the longtime veterans of this classic car. We'll see who can muscle through to the checkers as we get ready to watch round 3 of the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is former real-world IndyCar driver Richie Hearn. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Richie, this track seems to have become known for its difficulties in passing, but what is it about that caused that?
Yeah, thank you, Joe. And here we are at Imola, located not too far away from the Ferrari headquarters in Maranello. We're looking at a 3-mile track, 4.9 kilometers. It does have 17 turns. We'll be doing 27 circuits around here. The track is it's beautiful. It's a classic track for a classic race car. It's fun to drive, but it is difficult to pass, even though there are some areas you can make a move, but with the way they put those sausage curbs and those chicanes, it makes it very difficult to go side by side. And those braking zones into those sections a lot of them are blind entries. So it's hard to get the braking done, and you got to make that pass clean to make it happen. But probably the best way to jump on this, for you guys to see this track, is to jump on board that GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Johan Norlampi in the GSRC Lotus 79, so let's do a lap around Imola. Down the front stretch, you're kind of weaving back and forth trying to straighten out the track. Then comes Tamburello, which will probably be your best place to attempt to pass. Try to hug this first apex, don't track out too far after the second, and then let it fly through the third. As we come up to Villeneuve, it's going to be tempting to try passes, but the faster first half of the chicane makes it very, very tricky. If you come in here too wide, you'll probably lose a lot of time. Then, it's a short burst up to Tosa. This car does not like accelerating out of slow corners, so expect a few drivers to lose it while trying to get to the power. But it'll be important to get on the gas as early as you can because it's a steep climb up to Piratella. Every ounce of momentum counts. It's always incredibly hard to get the car to turn into the apex here. You can use some of the AstroTurf on the exit, but it doesn't really offer much grip. For Aqua Minerale, you're going to be slowing, turning, and braking through the first half. Very tough. Then, the second half is even slower. Don't drift out too far or else you can get a slowdown penalty. Those two bends will bite a lot of drivers before the day is out. Then we climb back up out of the valley and hold to the left. Alta is the tightest of the 3 chicanes on this track. While passes can be made, your competitor will need to cooperate or else you'll likely tangle. Once again, watch the AstroTurf because it's slippery. Then, we're going to weave back downhill. Try to angle the car so that you have a straighter run into Ravazza. You'll really be stomping the brakes here, and the downhill entry tends to cause a number of drivers to overshoot this corner. You only have a tiny blip on the throttle before you tackle the second apex, which is much more important. Getting a proper run off of here will be critical to your current lap and the next one. Hopefully, though, you kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Imola.
They see a lap around Imola. And let's take a look at the points as we let the qualifying take place behind the scenes. We've got 2 rounds in, but Gernot Frisch is back up at the top with a dominant win last week at Mid-Ohio. Matt Wood kept him honest, we have to say, and much like that, in the points, he's only trailing by about 47. It's equidistant back to Steve Bycroft there, who jumps himself up to 3rd as well. Tommy Unhola making progress and reaching into the top 5. And of course, a familiar face here in the top of the points, Pablo Suarez. They're rounding out our top 5 in the driver standings. What about the team points? Richie, what are those looking like?
Yeah, we'll bring up those team points details. Sitting in first place, 58 points, is Al-Badad Saudi Racing Team Williams. It's the old school Team Williams there. Right behind them is not too far is Ferrari with Matt Wood, Stefani. In that first group, I should mention, is Gernot Frisch and Glenn Corrigan. Sitting in 3rd is Marlboro Team McLaren, and they're only 17 points back with Barry West and Alex Millward. You keep the Renault Elf is sitting in 4th place with Steve Bycroft and Kendrick Taylor, and 2 teams tied at 5th place at 21. So we got a long ways to go, so this will definitely get jumbled up as we get going through the season.
Curious to see how much today will jumble it up. Let's take a look at actually what this race will entail. As we mentioned, we are in round 3. Now, you talk about it getting jumbled up. Well, the drop rounds, you see drivers get 4 of them and teams get 2. That will definitely shuffle it up once we get past round 4 in this championship. Today's race, though, going to be 27 laps. It takes a little bit of time to get around here, not terribly long. But just like they did in the Formula One of old, there is no stop for fuel, no necessary stop for tires. This is a sprint to the finish. If you come into the pits, you're going to lose gobs of positions. They do have an incident cap, though. If you have too many off tracks or problems running into other cars or spinning, well, eventually you will be disqualified if you get 17 of those incident points. The points that they are using for the championship, though, that you saw are the official ones. And as we take a look at the qualifying, Nora Lompe back up at the top, as has become pretty typical. Now, he apparently earlier today in one of the other races got an incredible start off the line. We were talking about the difficulty in passing, Richie, but it seems maybe Juha's found a way to get around the failure to qualify well.
Yeah, he has a great start, starting in 3rd, and just goes right up the inside. Really just put the power down. You can see Alex Millward kind of spun the tires at the start. And it is a long run into turn 1, and so they can get a good little draft, and then it just tightens up into that. They believe that's Tamburello there, and they've turned that into chicane from the original layout. But yeah, that's going to be the key, I think, as it is tough to pass, and as most F1 races in the modern day, it really comes down to that start.
Wow, and we just saw Alex Millward go to the pole again. Now, Nora Lompe started from 3rd in that clip that we just watched, so he could still be bumped down from there as he is 2nd right now. In fact, Gernot Frisch could be the one to do it. He's sitting in 4th, but he's on his 2nd lap right now. As we've got Adam Frazier on the screen from the Virginias coming around Ravazza.
Yeah, this is a tricky track to put a lap down, as there's a few sections where if you just go off a little bit, you get that 1X and it nullifies that lap. And so it's really hard to get the power down, get those braking down. I did some laps earlier and just tried to check it out, and I found it very difficult to put a clean lap together. As we watch Gernot Frisch, this is really tricky trying to get the power down, but it does go back uphill. Oh no, sorry, that's the last corner coming onto the front straightaway. So that's one of those sections where you can drop a wheel and lose that time.
See if his is clean. He crosses the line, and it is faster at 32.7, but it only gets him up to 3rd because a number of other drivers have improved their time. Fernandez to 4th, Tommy Unhola to 5th. So Nora Lompe will be on the front row, it looks like, here in these final minutes, unless we get a real surprise from the remaining drivers. And I'm not expecting that from those we see still running. We were talking about those chicanes as well, Richie, and you said something about the tall sausage curbs at the apexes. This car kind of known for the ground effects and whatnot. What does that do when those big curbs lift the car up? Does that hurt the car, or does it hurt the downforce, or what's the big concern?
Well, I mean, this car relies on the under tray, which so that the way the car is designed underneath, much like an Indy car is today, where the car sucks down and that's where you get most of your downforce. Well, as soon as you hit those curbs, the car obviously lifts up and you lose that connection underneath, and then it all breaks loose from there. So this car's not really meant to be going over those curbs. If we were driving touring cars, you would just blast right over them and no big deal. But these cars definitely don't like it. Plus, the wings sit really low. So if you hit that curb a little too hard, it'll bend that front wing up, and then you lose more downforce. So it is very tricky to get through. And there's about 3 sections every lap you got to deal with it.
All right, Unhola's on his second and final lap. It's also an improvement, another 32.7, and he's actually going to put Gernot Frisch on the outside of row 2. Tommy Unhola going to start in third. Qualifying has now ticked down to the end, so that is going to be it. No more drivers able to get laps in. Let's go through your starting order. Alex Milward going to try to topple the greats here. He's going to start from the pole. Juha Noralampi will be starting from second. Maybe he can get around him again. We'll see. Tommy Unhola will be P3 with Gernot Frisch in fourth. Then it's Sergio Fernandez in P5. Steve Bycroft on the outside of him in 6th. Adam Frazier starts P7. Peter Koneski in 8th. John Atkinson Jr. will be 9th in the top 10, or rounded out by Pablo Suarez.
Starting 11th will be Dustin Herriter. 12th will be Barry West. The row behind them, and 13th and 14th will be Timothy Reed and Nicholas Mukanos. 15th will be Robert Plumley. 16th, Timothy Dalton. 17th, Derek Rolavelle. 18th, Rob Olenek. 19th, Kendrick Taylor. John Stevens in 20th.
And the last few is Robert Simpkins starting 21st, Masson Pascal 22nd. Glenn Corrigan will be P23, Steve Sarles 24th, and Brennan Cleveland 25th. Keith Herter and Sergio Morales, last two to get a time in 26th and 27th. Dave Peterson and Juan Felix did not get a start time. They will be the last row on the field. Waiting for everybody to grid up. This is a cloud cover. Starts to darken things slightly. 90 degrees out on track. 81 out there in the lovely park we have at Imola. It surrounds the circuit. Found out you can actually ride a bicycle around here when they're not racing if you want. Just take it onto the track and cruise around the famous corners. As we see them get ready for that famous Tamburello chicane. Are we going to see any sort of incidents into that first corner? Will the drivers tangle with one another? Will they be able to get through there clean? Nora Lampi running an orange paint today, interestingly. Wonder what the change is for. Engines start to rev. Green flag is out here for round 3, and it is another incredible start for Nora Lampi. My goodness. He is lightning off the line, and Unhola also trying to get around Milward. Milward's got the inside of the first apex, and he's going to deny him. They're starting to sort themselves out at the top of the pack.
Yeah, Nora Lampi's really got that clutch engagement perfect as he jumps to the lead. They're all single file at the moment, but Alex is probably not happy to see that, as he's seen it twice already.
So we had, unfortunately, a few cars fall victim to John Atkinson Jr. not getting off the line, ran into one another. Atkinson's actually still on his lid. I'm not sure why he hasn't taken a tow. He's certainly not going to get knocked back over if that's what he's hoping for. Already our leaders coming around towards Aqua Minerale. It's going to be jumbled up if we take a look at the timing and scoring because so many cars towed. Nora Lampi is your leader, Milward second, Unhola 7th, and Frisch 4th. Excuse me, Unhola 3rd.
Yeah, Nora Lampi doing a good job, kind of gapping himself a tiny bit from Alex Milward. Right behind them, Tommy Unhola has a little problem in that section we were talking about and hit the curbs a little hard. Meanwhile, Gernot Frisch stuck back there in 4th. This is kind of unusual for him. Usually he just kind of gets out front and goes. But up front, the top 7, 8, 9 cars are all single file as we come down to complete lap 1 down this long front straightaway.
We wondered if there would be an accident in Tamburello. They didn't even get there before an accident, unfortunately. So let's take a look at the replay. And I'm not sure if Atkinson is using the new clutch feature that iRacing implemented. Oh, there we see the tail end of it. But for some reason he just did not go. And a number of them actually were pretty heads up and managed to squeak their way around. But unfortunately, as soon as someone hit them, and then we had a second incident. I'm not sure who this is we're looking at here. And it was John Stevens, it looks like.
As they try to get on the power right here, it's really important. This next corner, it looks easy, but it's actually difficult. And you get kind of get a little loose. It looks like just somebody lost it right in the pack. And unfortunately, nowhere to go for some of those guys.
Already trying to complete lap 2. Nora Loppi stretching the lead to nearly a second over Alex Millward. Frisch clearly wants to do exactly what you were talking about, get up to the front and lead, as he's been putting pressure on Unhola, though he doesn't get a good exit out of Alta. And Tommy manages to pull himself a little bit of a gap.
Yeah, Nora Loppi doing a great job just staying clean. Everybody kind of in the top 9, all separated out fairly evenly, except for the Nora Loppi and Alex Millward. Everybody's kind of running where they started.
Down the front stretch. Is there enough of a draft down this front stretch that you might see some people try to slingshot into Tamburello here, or is it just not long enough?
It's fairly long. I mean, you get up to 5th gear and you get going pretty good. It's just a matter of getting a good run off that last corner, which is very tight. And it's one of those places where if you cut the corner a little bit, you're going to get a slowdown penalty. So that's very tricky to just get done. But I think you might see some as we get the fuel burn off.
You're right on board with Nora Loppi. Well, Millward, despite losing that 0.8 of a second gap, has not dropped back any farther since then, holding on to the coattails of the number 2 car. If anything, they are dropping Unhola behind them in 3rd. The number 6 car still dealing with the Williams of Gernot Frisch climbing all over the back of him at parts. And Sarles had a problem. This looks like in Tosa. Was Brennan Cleveland involved in that, maybe? Not directly, it looks like. Sarles just spins the car, and Cleveland, you're going to see him try to take avoiding action and himself head off into the grass.
Yeah, it's another tricky section where you come in and you got to get a really good drive out of that corner. It is 2nd gear, and it's easy to spin the tires, and it looks like that's what happened to Steve Sarles, and the other driver just some accident avoidance, just kind of spun out. No harm, no foul.
So if you don't hit anything, just get it going once again and head on your way. Lap 4 now. Nora Loppi did make a little bit of inroads this time, stretching it by 2 more tenths over Alex Millward. But let's jump back into the mid-pack. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say also, Tommy O'Hella has kind of left Gernot, and Gernot's now struggling to stay in front of the pack behind him, so he's definitely struggling a little bit here, sliding around a lot.
Yeah, we haven't had much time to look back at the mid-pack where we've got a few battles brewing. Down in 10th, Barry West has Timothy Reed right behind him, and it's getting closer. Reed gets a good run, actually, off of Villeneuve. Tries to go the long way around Tosa, but wheel spin's going to deny that.
Yeah, that's where we were just talking about with Steve Sarles, just trying to get on that power because it does go uphill. This section right here is very tricky. It is a blind entry on the brakes. We go back down the hill, and so yeah, Timothy Reed had a chance, but now he's got to make it back up.
And do we have a problem with Timothy Dalton as well? He's down in 20th. Let's take a look at the replay.
Yeah,
possibly in Villeneuve. Oh, he's already got damage.
Yeah, he's missing half that front wing, so he's struggling just to make those corners, then spins out on his own by getting on the track, so he's definitely got some damage in the side pod and everything. Something happened before that.
Wonder if he was involved in any of those opening lap problems. Is just basically trying to struggle on. Morales was all the way off course. Somehow managed to avoid Dalton's problems as he returned. Morales now up to 19th because of that position lost.
Yeah, up front, Alex Millward has just set the fastest lap of the race, so he's closed that gap down to just under us. So he's starting to put the heat on Nora Loppi. So we're going to have a battle for the lead. Those two are kind of running on their own, and Tommy Ohola's. Gurno Frisch, meanwhile, has kind of creeped back up to the behind Tommy, and they're bringing along Sergio Fernandez with them.
It seems like Frisch is kind of up behind him, and then as soon as we look, he starts to drop back again. Is this the wake? Does he need to cool the tires down? What do you think's going on with Gurno having such difficulty here?
It might just be a difference in setups. Yeah, obviously, it is an open setup, so Gurno seems to be a little faster in these tighter sections where maybe he's a little bit better on the brakes, but down the straightaway, Tommy seems to pull him a little bit. So Tommy might be running a little less downforce. He's going to make Gurno really work for it.
You can see Sergio Fernandez is starting to get a little bit bottled up here too. So what has become a 2-car fight is now a 3-car train. The number 8 car maybe could take advantage if those two start squabbling. They're going to return to the front stretch one more time.
Alex Millward is caught right up to the back of Norlampi. Norlampi looks like he has a little damage to that front wing. I think he might have hit one of the curbs a little hard. And so it's bringing Alex right up behind him as they do get a draft. You can see him kind of suck up, but not quite close enough to make the move. But he's starting to really put some heat on Juha.
Yeah, this is the closest we've seen him in many laps. Millward staying with him through the chicane. Juha can't quite shake him. They come through Villeneuve this time. And once again, Millward looking very strong on the brakes.
Yeah, and then right behind him, same thing. Gurno's putting all the heat on Unhola. He's right on the back of him. So we got 2 good battles for that podium, for that top 4 spots.
In fact, Frisch is incredibly close right now, maybe a car length and a half behind, but that Tyrrell is just insurmountable. Gets right up underneath the gearbox coming through Piratella. Not really a good chance to pass in these cars. So as they speed through Aqua Minerale, maybe going to try to set himself up for Alta, and just doesn't get the run he was hoping for.
That's probably the most difficult place to put a pass on, but you can really see the difference. Ooh, Tommy gets sideways over that curb and can't put the power. Here we go. Ooh, Tommy's going to put the block on him. And here we come. Gurno's going to have the inside, then he's going to be on the outside.
It almost looked a little bit naughty. He kind of went a little back and forth, but he's going to get a second try. Well, let's look at the replay. Oh, we had a pass for the lead. Oh, and it's almost the exact same thing. Look at that.
But Norlampi's coming back on him. He's going to try to outbrake him into Tamburello and doesn't quite get it done, but he's not giving up. He's on the inside for the next section. Oh, man, they're close. 2 great battles going on the track right now.
Yeah, and I can report that Unhola did not get past, but yes, it is much, much closer between Millward and Norlampi. They're dealing with traffic on top of it. That's one Felix trying to stay out of their way. 29-car field, almost the most you can have in a single split. So a lot of cars out there on the circuit, although most of them taken out with that opening melee. Millward gets himself a little bit of breathing space.
Yeah, well, Alex qualified on the pole, so he's got the speed. So now that he's got taken care of Norlampi, if he just puts his head down and just puts in some clean laps, might be able to break that.
What strikes me as interesting is we don't see Matt Wood here today either. I mentioned he's been finding himself some speed, much like Alex Millward. But this is going to be a bit of a loss for him, considering how tight the fight is up at the top. And Millward, I think you're right. I think that qualifying pace was no fluke. Look at him start to pull away from Norlampi now.
Yeah, he's starting to break Norlampi a little bit. So Norlampi just got to make sure he doesn't make any mistake, because Unhola and Frisch are only about 3 seconds behind. They're catching up to him. When you watch this battle with Frisch and Unhola, you can really see the difference under the brakes. Man, Gurno's really good on the brakes, but Unhola just gets a little jump off the corner. It's really making it difficult for Gurno to get on the inside to any of these corners.
Let's look at this battle back for 14th. Masson Pascal is in front of Rob Olenek and Keith Herner, very close on his tails. And I think this is going to be an easy slam dunk for Rob Olenek. Slipstream has him going by. And the number 4 car moves up to 14th. but Keith Herner can't find his way past.
That's a nice little scrap for 15th between these three drivers. We're seeing some good racing, some good clean passes so far. As we get going and the tires come up, this car likes to have a light fuel load. We're going to see everybody go, ooh, Keith goes really wide. That's a full drift off that corner. And that was pretty good. It was almost perfectly straight drift off the corner, but he does lose some time.
And up ahead of them, don't forget Barry West. Remember, we were covering him and Timothy Reed. Well, Reed's not managed to get by, but certainly continuing to apply lots of pressure. They come up to Alta, and Reed's just going to wait patiently behind, maybe try to set him up. He looks a lot smoother through there, but Barry West a little strong off the corner, finds the grip. And I think Timothy's going to have to wait for another few corners before he gets a good chance. Onto the front stretch off of Ravazza as we ride on the nose of Timothy. He's staying within about half a second of Barry West. Is that half a second going to be enough on the pit straight as it kinks itself off to the right and then weaves back to the left? Not quite a straight, really. And braking for Tamburello, the answer is no. The number 16 still stuck down in 11th.
Up front, Alex Moore has broken Nora Lampe's draft, so he's a second and a half ahead. But Nora Lampe's kind of slowly creeping back into the clutches of Unhola and Frisch, just a little tenth at a time. It's now a two-car battle between Unhola and Frisch as Sergio made a mistake I was watching earlier and got off the track.
It's a missed opportunity for the number 8 car for sure. Wow, both Frisch and you could see Frisch is hustling the car. He's getting a little desperate, it almost seems.
Yeah, I think he's seeing that, that wind is going to be hard to get to if he can't get by Unhola. But if they just kind of stay clean, they might be able to catch up to Nora Lampe and race for that second spot.
I have a feeling that Frisch has got his sights set on the win more than anything. He's about 4 seconds back from Millward. They still have more than half the race left to go, so this is certainly not done and dusted. We're right on board with our current champion.
Just as I said that Alex kind of broke Nora Lampe. Nora Lampe just dropped 2/10 on Alex, and he's closed that gap down to a 1.2 second gap. So I don't know if Alex made a small mistake, but Nora Lampe's back in the groove. So this battle is not over at the moment.
The Finn responds, and behind them, Unhola, his fellow Finn, still holding off Gurno Frisch at every corner possible. It's getting to be very impressive. Let's jump back, though, to the mid-pack, because that three-car train that we were watching is switched. It's now Kendrick Taylor in the lead of Simpkins and Olenek. This is for P12 coming up through Villeneuve. Olenek continuing to look very, very strong on the brakes into some of these corners.
Yeah, this is a healthy battle for 12th spot with Kendrick Taylor going a little wide and opening the door. Not quite enough room for Simpkins to jump on board there to get on the inside. But they also have Rob Olenek right behind them, breathing down their backside.
Yeah, it almost looks like it, if anything, it checked up Simpkins because Olenek got right underneath him. But he has to drop back as well, slowing up for Aqua Minerale and back up the hill towards Alta. No one with a clear advantage, but nobody able to get away from one another. Through the chicane, we've seen a lot of mistakes in here, and Simpkins incredibly strong all over the back of Taylor. Can't do anything with it. Olenek has been steadily moving forward. We saw him make a pass earlier. He started this race in 18th, sitting in 14th. If he can get by these two, that's up to 12th for him, which is a nice little climb.
And you can see a little damage on Kendrick Taylor, too, on that front wing. So, I don't know if same thing. He hit those curves in here. Oh, here we go. Olenek's going on the inside of Simpkins. Is going to get him into Tamburello. A nice move done. Nice clean pass.
I almost wonder if Olenek has got his wing trimmed out, because we saw him do the same thing a little bit earlier. I was trying to remember who it was he went by, just blasted by him down the straight.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. Way up to basically, sorry, I'm thinking about Simpkins. Olenek 18th up to 13th.
Yeah, and he's already sizing up Taylor to try and take 12th away. Gets checked up through Piratella. Gonna have to reposition himself to try again later. Maybe did not expect Simpkins to break that early, or excuse me, Taylor to break that early.
And meanwhile, up front, Alex and Norlampi keep trying to prove me wrong, as Alex now goes faster and goes up to 1.6 seconds. So that battle is subsided for a second. Unhola and Frisch is all over the back of Unhola as they come into right there. I believe that's is that
Villeneuve?
Yeah, Villeneuve. There you go. And Gernot's getting really frustrated. He's really good on the brakes, but you can see as they come off the corner, I don't know if it's a gearing issue or whatever, but Unhola gets a real good drive off these tight corners and opens up just enough gap where Gernot can't quite outbrake him for the next one.
I'm starting to think that Finns just have snow in their bloods, because this is an incredibly cool drive from Tommy Unhola. The way we've seen a few mistakes from him, but really nothing that's going to hand it over. It seems like Gernot, no matter how much pressure he applies, he can't rattle the likes of Unhola.
And yeah, this battle has been going on since the start. Sergio Fernandez is starting to close back up, but he just made a little mistake there at Alta and went a little bit wide. But yeah, this battle is going to just rage right to the end.
And I can report that Olenek did get by Kendrick Taylor. It was another slingshot pass down into Tamburello. He had to work a little bit harder for this one as Kendrick tried to come back at him. Let's look at the replay. And if we want to stay with this, Taylor got into a nice little scrap with Simpkins afterwards, who also snuck by. There you see the initial pass. That's Taylor in the yellow and white Renault. That's Simpkins getting by. And then Taylor comes back at him in Tosa. Let's stick with this. This is an incredible response. Watch this. Looks to the outside into the hairpin after a mistake from Simpkins. Absolutely power moves his way around.
Yeah, if you can get a good drive out of this corner, a little straighter a little earlier so you can get that run. So that was a really good job. Nice clean racing from this.
And as I say that, I think Simpkins is ahead of... Oh, no, that's Pascal that I'm seeing. It's two similarly painted cars. That's his teammate, and Pascal ducks to the inside, but thinks better of it down into Tamburello. Some great action here in the mid-pack. Hard to tell where to put our eyes considering the pressure cooker of a fight we've seen up at the front. This is a little bit farther back. Simpkins, Pascal, and Herner.
Yeah, we talked about how hard it is to pass, but we've seen some decent passing going on, some clean racing. I think it's terrible. You can pass, but you just got to really work on it, and it's never going to be easy.
And Herner had a look at Pascal, but looks like Masson's going to cover him off into Aqua Minerale. I think it's incredibly rare that I've seen passes go off into there. And that's going to keep the number 27 in P15 for the moment. Jump back up to the battle for third. They continue to lose out on Nora Lampi. It's now 3.5 seconds that they've lost to the top two. Frisch still got his nose right underneath the gearbox of that Tyrrell.
Yeah, Nora Lampi's all by himself, so he's able to run some clean laps. These guys are kind of blocking each other, just trying to make it work, not worried about speed. But man, I'm just seeing a little bit, I'm watching Gernot just get a little more antsy. He's getting closer and closer to the back of this car in front of him. So, as right behind them, Sergio Fernandez misses that corner completely, and he's going to have a slowdown penalty, so he's going to back off. But, yeah, you can see Gernot just jumping over those curves, really trying to make something happen.
Yeah, let's stay with this battle, but The good news is for Fernandez fans, Steve Bycroft was a long ways back, so Sergio did not lose a position from that mistake. Oh, and 8th place changing hands. This is Peter Konieczny and Pablo Suarez.
Yeah, Suarez made an awesome move going up that hill to Alta, I believe. That's a really tough place. He passed him on the outside, but it's going to bring Konieczny back. Oh, and they're going to touched a little bit, but no damage. But yeah, back and forth these gentlemen are doing for 8th and 9th spot.
And it's not over yet. Look at this down the front stretch. Suarez wants it back. He's got the slipstream. Which side is he going to pick? Which side is Konieczny going to defend? He's going to hold off the inside. Can the Brabham hold him back? Breaking down into Tamburello. It is a game of chicken despite having the inside. Peter has to give it up. Suarez, incredible move.
Yeah, Peter Konieczny took the inside, made Pablo go around the outside, but just got a little bit better braking into that first part. But this battle's not over yet.
This is, again, for P8. Fierce stuff between these two. And we've got more than 10 laps to go left in this race, so still a lot of racing ahead of us. Suarez settles into P8 now, with Konieczny not having much of an answer through the back half of the course. This is where it got taken away from him before. Coming up towards Alta, trying to push the car hard. And Suarez looks a little slow off of Aqua Minerale. Unfortunately, Peter not able to capitalize. A lot more calmer this time around.
Right there is where Suarez made the move the lap before, and then Peter got by, and then Suarez got by, so these guys are going back and forth.
Ooh, maybe Peter's setting him up for the front stretch. He's about 3/10 behind.
So something's happened to Norlampi. He has gotten some damage, and he has been passed by Unhola. Oh, and Gurno hits in the back of him, so I don't know what happened, but Norlampi is throwing away 2nd place, and he's going to throw away 4th place. So
let's see what happened here. This was this was lap traffic in Ravazza, so maybe a half a lap ago was Brennan Cleveland. Oh, and poor Brennan. I mean, I wouldn't guess it was his mistake, but it was very unintentional. We're going to see it here. So right on board with Juha.
And he's not going to be happy about that because he was running a clean race in 2nd spot. He's struggling right now to keep the car on the track, but yep, here they come into that lap sector of the track. Oh, he just spins in front of him, and Norlampi, I mean, that just happens. Can't really get mad at that. He's just in the wrong place at the wrong time, but unfortunately, Norlampi has damaged his car and has fallen back to 4th position.
Preacher is forced to turn the other cheek and is actually already down to 5th. Fernandez has gotten by him. This has hurt his pace drastically. Cleveland, in the meantime, has taken to the pits, just not willing to continue. Oh, and Juha is doing the same.
Yeah, I don't think his car was driving straight because I was watching him and he was just struggling just to stay on the track.
He's retired it. Oh. That is it for the Finn. Going to be a DNF today for the Preacher. So this changes things up. How much damage did Frisch get as well from that little touch? He's about a 2nd behind Unhola, but he's now finally up to 3rd that he wanted for so long. And a little bit of damage on the left front of the car.
A little bit of damage, but I don't think anything to hurt his chances of getting to 2nd spot. But man, he has been trying so hard this whole race for 17 laps to get by Unhola, and he has not been able to make it happen. Alex Millward off on his own. Doing his thing, running 133.3s that last lap.
Yeah, Millward has, I wouldn't say been putting on a clinic, but has stepped up to the plate for sure. The number 7, due to a little bit of attrition around him, now has a 6-second gap. And essentially just has to bring it home clean and maybe avoid the pitfalls that some of the others have found in the lap traffic. Sounds like the Preacher, now that he's stepped out of the car, has joined us. Why don't we pull him in, talk to him a little bit about what happened out there. Juha, you had another incredible start off the line. You managed to get briefly into the lead, but then it was down to almost a stalemate between you and Alex. It looked like neither of you could really get away from one another for a long time.
Yeah, Joe. I just pop up here and say that Alex has a really great pace this weekend, and I couldn't do anything. I tried to keep as maximum pace as I could, but I made 2 mistakes, and that cost me a first place. And after that, I couldn't match the speed. And as you saw, the lap guy, he just spun, and I couldn't do anything. But it was the second time a row. But that's racing for me now.
A quick question before you go, though. We noticed that you've put some orange on your car, where traditionally you've had white. Is that symbolic of anything? What's the change for?
Yeah, I noticed that it's much slower paint now. Perhaps I took wrong paint, but I thought that I could make some change, and I don't know what was it like for you. I don't know. I think it's quite good.
Well, it caught our attention, and hopefully the car speeds up with that color in a little bit. Commiserations for your finish today. Hopefully we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks, and congratulations whoever is winning now. But Alex is a very good pace, and I don't know what he has eating, and and no, but congrats to you guys. Bye.
That was Juha Norlampi, DNF today. Despite a front row start, it is Millward still leading. Must have had his Wheaties this morning. The UK&I driver certainly is pulling away. It is now 7.7 seconds to Tommy Unhola, still fending off Gernot Frisch. We were riding on board watching that battle while we talked to Juha. Here it is yet again. I don't think we've seen... Go ahead.
I was going to say that while we were doing the interview, that battle was getting crazy with some lap traffic, and Unhola going off track, and Gernot trying to make it happen, but not quite. Unhola has had nothing but Gernot in his mirror the whole time for the complete race so far.
I don't think we've seen Frisch be farther back than a second and a half for pretty much this entire race long. Through the Alta chicane they go once more. And Unhola just able to get the power down exactly when he needs it. That dark blue Tyrrell, almost impossible to overtake today. They've dropped Sergio Fernandez ever since he had that slowdown penalty. It has stayed at about 2.5 seconds back to fourth. So in fact, Sergio has entered no man's land. He's 4 seconds ahead of Steve Bycroft, so really has no one to fight back there.
Gernot's got a really good run on him down the straightaway. He's starting to pick up the draft, but he's not quite close enough, and it's kind of been that frustrating the whole time. He's good on the brakes, but not really good enough off the corner to make a move for the next one.
This is our closest battle on track right now. We do have one other one that is a little tight, but if it gets closer, we'll go back. It's all the way down for 15th. Not quite as intense as what we've got in this fight for P2. They're going to have more lap traffic. Maybe this is the ticket that Gernot needs to look for. Look for some of this lap traffic and try to get cute.
Yeah, that's definitely going to play a part, or it could. And Hull is just really, like I say, doing a great job with being under pressure and not making the big mistake. So they are coming up some cars at the moment. Keep an eye on this.
This is Timothy Dalton and Steve Sarles. And Dalton's just going to pull completely over, let them through. Oh, but he brakes late. Oh, no! And Frisch actually has to go off track to avoid him. Timothy Dalton apologizing immediately over the radio.
Yeah, and Timothy Dalton still has that damage from the first lap, but, he kind of probably should have just stepped on the brake right there and just let him go. And unfortunately, Gernot didn't hit anything, but he's got to slow down enough. And I believe Sergio Fernandez is going to go by, so it's going to push Frisch off the podium at the moment.
Great heads up by Gernot, because I think a lesser driver would have just turned in, assuming the car wasn't there anymore. Thankfully, he spotted him. Fernandez with about a 2-second gap back to Frisch. Let's see what kind of pace Gurno has now that he's not bottled up behind Unhola. Wonder if we'll see a new fastest lap set.
I think Gurno has the pace to catch up to Fernandez, but I just don't know if he'll have the time. We only have 7 laps to go.
He's obviously struggling a little bit with his tires, maybe heating them up, following in the wake of Unhola for quite a while. Now down to 7 laps left. Well, now that battle is broken up, let's jump down to 9th. Guess who it is again? Barry West and Timothy Reed joined at the hip. And West, I'm pretty certain, has been leading this whole time. I haven't seen an overtake between these two.
Yeah, Barry doing a good job starting 12th, running in 9th spot, but he does have a hungry Timothy Reed behind him. In this situation, that makes that 7 laps take a long time. And you got to watch somebody in your mirror that long.
Right on board with Timothy Reed. Coming up towards the left-hander of Piratella, both of them looking nice and smooth. One thing that always struck me about these cars, too, is the way that you can feel that they don't have power steering. Now, granted, here in sim racing, Richie, we can turn the force feedback down, but if you don't, I just love the weight of the wheel in your hands racing these cars.
Yeah, and if you turn the force feedback down, then all of a sudden the car feels numb. So in order to really get a feel for how the front's working, you got to have it up. And yeah, it does have a great feel. I love driving this car.
I've heard many drivers say that they feel it's the most fun car to race, one of the most challenging cars to race here on the iRacing service. It is all power, no aids. And right now, no aid for poor Timothy Reed, still trailing behind West, although he's got a little bit of a slipstream down the front stretch. This is actually relatively close. He could maybe send one in, but West is going to cover off the inside. He's going to be forced to go the long way around. Timothy Reed tries down. Oh, they come together. Barry West is off the track, and Timothy Reed continues into 9th.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'll kind of lay the blame on Barry there. He just gave him no room for the next turn, and he just turns in, and Peter's already there, so if he could have just given him a little bit of space, he would have completed, probably stayed in front of him. And here we go. Here goes Peter on the inside, and Barry's just got to give him a little space. He's there, and unfortunately, that's what.
Timothy brings his number 16 car up to P9. That's after starting 13th himself. Barry West, good news is, not too damaged to continue, although he's about 6 seconds back from Reed. But he's also 6 seconds ahead of the charging Olenek, and with only 5 laps to go, I think it unlikely that number 4 car will be able to overtake him without at least another mistake.
So it's true, Fernandez is starting to close up in on Tommy and Hola. That last lap, he was 7/10. Sorry, my mistake. I'm reading it wrong. Reading the data wrong.
It happens. There's a lot coming at us when we're commentating. If anything, what's more impressive is I think Fernandez is actually holding Frisch at bay. I don't think Gurno's gained much. If he has, it's only maybe a 10th or 2.
Yeah, I thought Gurno would be able to chase him down, but these guys are kind of steadied out about a second apart, 1.5 seconds. But it does look like, Fernandez is starting to catch up to Unhola.
About a second apart now. Tommy's got to be wondering if he's ever going to get a bit of racing where he doesn't have his mirrors full. But credit to him, he's made a fantastic run coming from 3rd on the grid, withstanding immense pressure from Gurno Frisch for most of it. Frisch falling victim to just a little bit of bad circumstances with Juha trying to limp his way around. And then, unfortunately, even worse circumstances when he tried to overtake the lapped car of, trying to remember who that was exactly, Dalton, I believe. Ooh, Fernandez now got it under a second.
Yeah, now I'm reading the data right. So he's 0.2 faster on Unhella that last lap. So he is definitely closing in. I don't know if he's going to get close enough. I mean, you saw how hard Gurno tried to get by Unhella. So Sergio might be able to get there, but I'm not sure he's fast enough to get.
Yeah, we've seen today it's one thing to catch a driver, it's another to pass them. Through Aqua Minerale, Sergio gains another few tenths. It's down to 0.8 of a second now. I think he might get behind him right as the white flag comes out if he keeps this up. See what the front stretch allows him to chop away at. Behind them, Frisch has it down to 1.8 seconds. His pace also very slowly picking away at the gap, but just not enough.
Yeah, this is where Fernandez has got to get a good run off that corner and try to get into the draft. He's creeping up on him a little bit at a time. He was about 0.4 faster that last lap, so it's down to 0.7 of a second. But he's running out of time with only 3 laps to go. Gurno, meanwhile, just put in the fastest lap of the race, so he's not giving up.
I kind of figured that would be the case for Gurno now that he didn't have a car in front of him. It didn't seem like it was really the slipstream all that much for Sergio. Maybe instead just continuing that pace and trying to reel in Unhola. This actually might become a 3-car fight now that looks like he's stalling out slightly. Prix has it down to 1.6 seconds now.
Yeah, I don't know. Unhola's starting to feel the pressure a little bit because he's definitely slower than the 2 cars behind him. He's running 33.5s, and Gurno that last lap was a 32.9. And you can see physically on the screen that Fernandez has got him in his sights.
Ooh, now he's got it down to half a second. That was a good piece of track for Sergio Fernandez. He's gathered himself together. This will certainly give him the slipstream down the front stretch. And as all this is happening, we don't need to go to it. Our leader has lapped up to, I believe, 14th place in this 29-car field. Some of that helped by the attrition at the start, but incredible pace from the number 7 machine.
Yeah, even though Alex has got that 10-second gap, he's still putting in fast laps. He just ran a 33.0, so he's not. He's definitely in the groove.
2 to go. Through Tamburello, Fernandez keeps it at about 0.5 of a second. Doesn't gain a whole lot that time. Frisch reels them in slightly down to 1.5. And if they do start fighting, that will absolutely bring the number 1 car into this fight.
This is definitely this is now a battle for second spot as Fernandez is right on the gearbox, and he's been kind of like Frisch. He's been really good on the brakes, but not good enough off the corner. So whatever Unhola has done to his car, he's done it the right way to keep those guys at having a chance to pass him.
Riding on board with Unhola, looking back. Oh, wow, he's getting close. It's Fernandez. Now 0.3 of a second behind, up to Alta. Millward almost already getting the white flag. He's so far ahead. And Unhola, those rear tires still very, very healthy. What was 0.3 of a second, he gains 0.2 on the exit of 1 chicane.
But this is where Unhola's fast. He's right there, that little jump off the corner, and then as they go down the straightaway, he just breaks it, and just enough to where the guy behind him get close to outbrake him. So he's doing a good job off those corners.
Sergio, no answer down the front stretch. He's going to have an almighty lap to try and get himself up to P2. Frisch has chopped it down to 1.4 seconds behind them. All the while, Alex Millward just picking off traffic one by one in front of him.
Working the final lap here, so if Sergio is going to make a move, he's got to do it soon. If anything happens, Gurno's there to pick up the mess.
He's awful close now. Look at this. Up to Piratella, not much braking into this corner. Not sure that this is going to be a chance for Sergio. Maybe he could set him up for Alta. Maybe he could set him up for Ravazza. Other than that, he's got to hope for just getting a fantastic run onto the front stretch. A little bobble from Unhola. Our cracks finally showing. No chance for a pass up to Alta. This could be the critical corner. I'm keeping an eye on our leader. And as they come down to Ravazza, we've got to jump over to Alex Millward. Easy win for Alex in the number 7 car, taking it from pole. Behind them, well, this could be the opportunity. Fernandez maybe a little too close underneath Unhola. Oh, I feel like he could have had it if he timed it better. But Tommy Unhola, round of applause for the number 6 to take second place. Fernandez in third. Battle for 12th. This is Kendrick Taylor and Keith Herner. Last cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, Kendrick Taylor's been having people behind him the whole time. He does have some damage, as you can see, so he's been struggling for straight line speed, but he's got Keith Herner all over the back of him.
And Robert Simpkins as well.
Yeah, Simpkins is right in this mix for the last cars on the lead lap.
Herner's going to have to get closer than this. We saw how close Fernandez was, and even he couldn't pass. He does get close to Taylor. Maybe not that close
as you can get. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to see them touch and ruin it, but that was as close as you can get. Kind of seeing the same type of desperation we saw between Fernandez and Unhola. Oh, and Simpkins is going to get a great run off that corner on Herner.
It's a lot closer to Herner than Herner is to Taylor. Up to Ravazza. Could it be from attack to defense for Keith? The Club West driver comes through Ravazza. Looks smooth on the power. A little bit too much wheel spin for Simpkins is going to seal that deal. So Taylor takes 12th, Herner 13th, and Simpkins 14th. We got a replay of that battle for second. Let's take a look at that one more time. Which portion are we going to watch here? This looks like the run to Ravazza. Let's watch on board.
Yeah, I mean, Sergio threw everything he could at him. And, Unhola just stayed great under pressure. This is where he comes up, and this is as close as he's ever been on this corner. And he's just right there, but just you can see as Unhola gets that jump off the corner, it's just enough to stay ahead.
Ever so tight between them at the line. Less than a second, less than a quarter of a second between them. But we got to go to break here. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. And if you stick around on screen, you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC while we watch Millward celebrate. Welcome back to Imola, and the opening lap may have had a little more action than what some drivers wanted, but the rest of the racing was fantastic through here. The reputation for the difficulty in passing stayed as it is. Alex Millward managed to take home the win from the pole, but he didn't lead every lap. It wasn't Tommy Unhola who was applying the pressure behind him. Unhola instead was the one who was withstanding it. He took second place, holding off Frisch, and then the driver who eventually wound up in third, just about a quarter of a second behind him, Sergio Fernandez, rounding out your podium. Frisch, unfortunately, just not getting the breaks in traffic that he would like today. He winds up in fourth, which is ironically where he qualified, although he was fighting for third and then second for much of the race. Steve Bycroft took fifth, with Adam Frazier coming home sixth. Pablo Suarez, nice jump up from 10th on the grid to take P7. Peter Konietzki will be 8th. Then it's Timothy Reed coming in 9th, almost getting, well, he was chopped off, actually, I should say, by Barry West and survived the incident. West went off track, recovered to a 10th place. Richie?
Yeah, Rob Olenek start 18th up to 11th, so nice job to him. Kendrick Taylor 12th, Keith Turner, Robert Simpkins 12th, 13th, 14th. These guys battled hard all race long. First car a lap down be Glenn Corrigan in 15th, Mason Pascal in 16th. Timothy Dalton had some issues there right from the beginning, come home 17th. Steve Starless 18th, Sergio Morales 19th, and Juha Norlampi unfortunately comes home 20th.
Yep, we're into the DNFs now. Juan Felix 21st, Brennan Cleveland 22nd. Robert Plumley comes home P23, and Derek Roveld in 24th. John Atkinson was the driver that, I don't want to say caused it, but he failed to get off the line, and unfortunately there were a few that weren't able to avoid him. He winds up 25th. Dustin Heroder, we saw him in a big accident on lap 1 as well. 26th for him. Nick Buchanov's 27th. John Stevens 28th. Dave Peterson rounds out the field in 29th. We have our second place finisher, Tommy Unhola, here to talk to us. Sir, you must have ice in your veins. That was an incredible defensive drive all race long. How did you do that?
Yeah, it was a really exciting race. I didn't expect to qualify there at all, and race was really hard as there was all the time someone usually much faster than me behind me, and but it was I liked the track and didn't get as much practice as I wanted to, but I could keep my pace very well, and I was a bit surprised as at others' pace, as I was so fast compared to others and not in the place I usually fast, but yeah, I'm so full of adrenaline after that. As yeah, it was really hard to defend from Zenot, and sadly he got into incident, but I'm sure I could have kept him behind me, and Juha also got into incident. That's a bit sad, but it happens sometimes, I guess. But race was really interesting. I actually forgot the question.
No, I think you answered it fine. So you said you were defending from Fernandez as well as Frisch. Was there ever a moment where you thought, if he gets beside me, I'm just going to let him go, or was this going to be fight till the end for you?
No, absolutely not. As I sometimes give up the place if someone is much faster than me to not lose so much time. But as qualifying was so good today, and it seemed like I can fight with the race pace, so I never thought I would give up any more than I can, and we're driving faster than I wanted, or taking more risks than I wanted today. So it was a really great result.
Well, this is a good 3 races that you've had, I'd say, and it seems like you're doing well in the points. What's your goal this season? Because we've see your face on the top 5 in the points.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really have goals yet in this series. I'm kind of new driver. It feels like I have been driving lots, but actually lots of drivers got many more races last season than I have with this car. So my I always want to be on podium or fight for Finns, but it's so hard with so experienced guys here. But it seems like I'm getting closer to podium fights, and this was actually only my third one, I think, and second place. I have not won a race yet, so it was really good for me today. And I'm usually a bit faster with all cars here, so we have to see how it goes on other weeks and if I can still fight for podiums.
Well, new kid on the playground or not, I think you've earned the respect of your peers in this series. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Oh, yes, I'm looking forward to it. It's really fun here. Thank you, and see you later.
That's Tommy Unhola, second place. Up next, we have top 10 finisher Barry West. Richie's going to talk to him.
Yeah, Barry, been a long time since we talked to you. Nice job, P10. Had a little incident early on, so just give us a rundown of, or later on, give us a rundown of your race.
Yeah, it was a bit hectic to start. Apologies to Rob. Rob, I can't pronounce his surname, but there was a bit of an incident at Tamburello, and I had to go to the right. And he was obviously trying to take advantage of the incident and go around the outside of me, but I didn't see he was there, so I pushed him off. But he did well to keep, just watching it, he did well to keep it out of the wall. And then towards the end, he was better as me. So yeah, so I didn't quite have the pace that I should have had then. I think when I got some damage from that little tap, I don't know. I just didn't feel confident with the car. But there was a gap to the guys in front then. And then it was lap after lap. Tim Reed was behind. He was a bit quicker than me in, where was it? He was quicker through Villeneuve chicane. He kept catching up with me in the hairpin, but we had a few side-by-sides and managed to hold him off. And then towards the end, he got a better run on the straight into Tamburello. We gave each other room into turn one. I thought he would have lifted, so I went, because I was slightly in front, and when I looked at the replay, I think his front wheel touched my rear, and it just sent me up in the air, and that was the end of me for that position. So yeah, I was a bit miffed about that. I thought I could have given him more room, to be honest, and he could have lifted. So it was a bit of a racing incident, I think. But yeah, and then more damage from that. So he pulled away, and then Rob was catching me up towards the end, and fortunately, I had enough of a lead just to keep it P10 to the end. But yeah, that was quite an exciting race. It's a lovely track, these classic tracks are the best to race this car.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun to drive this track. And, I just kind of replayed that incident there. And unfortunately, I think it was just a little bit of an incident. He had, as you turned into the right-hander, he just had nowhere to go, and the sausage curve was coming, and it just kind of just squeezed both of you off there. Yeah. So I don't think it was anything done that on purpose, just kind of one of those two players going for one spot. But
yeah, he must have been frustrated. I mean, because he was, I think he probably was a bit quicker. I don't know. I'd be interested to see what the qualifying time. So yeah, I don't know who was the quicker, but I was quicker in some places and he was quicker in others. So, but yeah, I think it was a racing incident. I could have and should have given more room, and he could have lifted and should have lifted. So it's like 50-50, I suppose.
Yeah. Sometimes those things happen, but fortunately, you really only lost that one spot, and you did have a little damage on that front wing most of the race, so it was probably hurting your straight line speed. But either way, good run. Top 10, starting 12th, and we'll see you next week, I suppose.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. I'm pleased with PB in qualifying, so I'm stepping me qualifying at this season and make a difference. Try and start a bit higher up, and might do a bit better.
Yeah. Excellent. So, well, Barry, thanks for joining us, and we will we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, cheers, Sam.
That was 10th place finisher Barry West. Some great insight from both Richie and Barry on that incident. But we're going to close up today. And of course, we want to thank the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Richie, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget, head on over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button as well so that you don't miss a moment here on the GSRC. Next week for the Lotus 79 cars, it's going to be Donington. It's the Grand Prix course. That'll be April 7th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.